On this episode of Scammer Stories, this is probably the most convincing of all of the scams I've covered so far. What would you do if you got a check for $100,000 and it cleared? And that's not even the most convincing part of the scheme. Now, before we get into this episode, you need to know that there is an entire city where people are being held hostage to pull off pig butchering scams, which is basically a romance and a financial fraud combined. Now, Jackie Crenshaw is a pig butchering survivor who's brave enough to actually put her face and name with her story. You'll hear her reference a TV station who covered the story. I'll put a link in the show notes. First, here's a little bit about where Jackie was in life when the scam started.
So I've been in radiology for 40 years. I'm a mammographer by trade, so I am like a pillar in the community. We have community outreach and all these different things, and I'm involved. I'm involved with another organization that does support for survivors. I'm on an organization in my hospital. So life was, good, having everything but that one thing missing, and that was a partner. So on a whim, again, I don't have social media. I manage like 55 women, so never just appealed to me. I have LinkedIn, that's it. So a friend of mine was like, oh, you need to try this dating site, BLK, which was supposedly, African-American site. And I went on the site, and at first there was really nothing, but then I commented on this one picture, and the person got back to me, and, we started talking. I think it was about 3 or 4 weeks before, I guess the one biggest mistake I made was getting off the platform. And again, so all this was new. I had never been on any type of dating site. So a lot of people, I think when they see my story, because it's out there now, it was a long, drawn out. The woman on ABC called it a love bombing. But yeah, food was sent to me, trinkets. And I don't know how many other people, but I was sent $100,000 check.
Whoa.
Which, yes. And I went to, my girlfriend's like, you got to go to police. So, and this was supposedly for our future and for investment. And by the time I got the check, I think it might be 2 or 3 months into it, I had already taken out $40,000 from borrowed from my 401k to invest in Bitcoin, which like now, if all this money that I lost was in Bitcoin, I guess I would be a multimillionaire if it wasn't scammed from me. But anyway, so this $100,000 check, I go to my local police station, and they were very dismissive, like, see if it clears, because I said, I think it might be fraud. I'm not sure. And it has another woman's name on it and a cost center. And it was from, I don't know if I could say the bank, Truist Bank in Florida, which I guess is very big there. We also called the bank too. And, they're like, oh, yeah, it's real. It came out of this account. And I think one last thing, I went to my bank and I was like, I don't know. And they're just, everybody's like, see if it clears. Again, this is, by the time September of 2023. So the bank clears and the scammers are like, go buy yourself something nice.
The check actually cleared. So they were trying to move money through you then.
Well, so the thing is, the floor dropped beneath me in June of 24. I find out from my state police in October that a woman in Florida who was probably scammed and romance scammed, she sent me the $100,000 check because she thought I was an investor.
Okay, so she was a money mule is what she was.
Yes, I guess. I had no clue on what had happened.
So then what were you supposed to do with that money?
So then again, it's like, a few little things that I needed, bought. And then eventually, again, with the scamming and the cyber romance, poked me into eventually sending most of it to crypto, which I learned, because there was supposedly this other person, a broker that had an English accent that told me, what to do with the crypto and how to do it. So the crypto part was legit. But once I send it to this wallet, Exodus wallet, that's when my money disappeared. But still, unbeknownst to me, I'm getting these emails that are saying all this profit that I'm making.
And I think it was your story that mentioned that there's a lawmaker in your area that wants
Yes.
banks to be able to stop this wallet process. I love that
Yes.
idea. I'd
So
never heard
it's
of it.
yep. They want me. So eventually I'll be testifying at the state capitol. My Senator Richard Blumenthal is really into this because it's deregulated. So they want to be able to get to these wallets so they can get people's monies back.
Okay, describe what a wallet is. Some people might not know what you're talking about.
So a wallet is where the money is held. Like once you buy, sell, trade cryptocurrency, you have to like hold it in a e-wallet, and you'll see like and this one just happened to be an Exodus wallet, but there are addresses that when you send it from crypto to the wallet and you think the money is there and it's growing, but they were actually taking the money out of the wallet. They had my address, but these wallet addresses kept changing, which I wasn't even aware of.
So what your lawmakers basically want to do is freeze the funds in those
Yes.
wallets.
Yes. Because I know I'm not going to get my money back, but the whole reason of me coming forward is to help others and help myself because I'm 60 years old. I was on the track to retire at 62. I don't know how long I'm going to work. And just like I said, his whole job or their whole job was to separate me from my money. So if that meant he was the best partner ever that I didn't see, again, if I mentioned I was hungry, there was Domino's delivered and all types of trinkets and different things where even I was at my work, I was in a golf drive, meaning driving golf balls. He contributed to that, but they were always one step ahead of me.
Yeah, they're good. This is really, really sophisticated stuff.
Yeah, and it's international. And people that don't understand, this is not some local thing. It's not United States. It is international. And I'm sure they probably Google you and see, what property you have. Because again, I'm a year into this thinking this person and always made excuses was going to come. And he was showing me his fake, like he had millions of dollars, right? And, refinanced my home. So I'm in a pickle. I have faith. That's why I'm fighting to the end to hopefully something become of this. I don't know.
Now, do you think that your scammer was out of the scam city in Myanmar?
Was that a scam city?
Okay, there's a city in Myanmar where these pig butchering scammers, or some of them are trafficked victims, and they live in these big buildings and they're being forced to stay there and work as scammers.
Well, because you know what's odd, and again, I don't want to blame anyone, but my local police, they had it documented that I came there in September of 2023. And this is really how I found out in June of 2024, a detective from my local police said that they got an anonymous call. Now, I don't know how you call the police department anonymously because they just said a gentleman with a thick Indian accent called the East Haven Police Department and said that I was being scammed and they felt sorry for me.
So that might have been one of the other victims that are being held there.
It could have been him too, because it's like my girlfriend's like, "Oh, do you think he started having feelings for you?" Because this was multiple calls a day. I have over 10,000 texts, calls, like everything. So I cannot prove that. But at that point, I thought that the police should have been like, "Oh, this person came here a year ago about a check, and now we're getting a call that she scammed." But he was just like, "Oh, are you being scammed?" And I'm like, I don't know. And then when obviously the butchering started happening when he knew he wasn't going to be at my party, which was in July of 2024.
She's talking about her 60th birthday party that she'd been planning. And wait until you hear what the scammer did.
This party was $80,000
Wow.
on a yacht. And the thing
I
is,
like
and
your
I have
style.
receipts. I have, and you'll see some of the pictures, but he sent me money back. So although, I'm my 403B, 400,000, he sent me $16,000 three different times. So those were deposits, and he even talked to the vendor. So when you look at it, it looks like, oh my God, this person just turned all this money. But it was, I call it a financial and emotional rape. I mean, this person, and you'll see, prayed with me, taught me really how to pray every day, like your turn, my turn. When someone, I mean, to the core gets to you, and I'm thinking, I look back and like, I felt like, was I in a cult? But I really had feelings for this person because of all the attention, and they just know what to do. Because again, I read one story where a gentleman, he had a wife in Nigeria who he thought he was taking a data position in Thailand. But, I think there were a couple of red flags, like him and another person. They sent a visa, but the visa was only for 3 months when it was supposed to be a 6-month job. So he got to Thailand, and then they put him on a boat to Myanmar.
So we're talking about the victims in Myanmar, the scam city where people are being held hostage to scam others.
And he was there. By the time he got back, his wife was 6 months pregnant. He had already had the baby, but he only got out because there was a woman that was sick, and he said he would volunteer to take care of the woman to get her out. He ended up getting arrested on purpose because he knew his visa was up, and he was able to call his brother and get back to his.
Wow.
Yes, it's unbelievable. And there's my state police, who there's only two of them that taught themselves about this, cyber crimes. He also told me that one of the wallets was traced back to Nigeria.
So what was the moment that you were like, okay, this is a scam?
So again, when the police officer called me, when I went to the state police, they're like, oh, try to keep talking to him. But I was so furious. I was just like, oh, you're not coming. Try listening to all the lies and the sweet talk. It was infuriating me. Where he just, like I said, excuse after excuse after excuse.
A lot of the victims I talk to, even once they realize it's a scam or they're told it was a scam, they still can't cut off communication.
Well, it was hard, but I eventually blocked him when I knew. And this is the thing, I ended up getting like PTSD going to my mailbox because somehow all my passwords. And I tried to, with the bank or whomever, I don't have a home computer. I have a work computer at home, but I used everything on my phone. And there's these IP addresses, and it's something from Huntington Bank in California and Fifth Third Bank I think he might have opened accounts under me, but I'm told by Bank of America that I need a subpoena. So not having money for an attorney or an investigator, how do I get a subpoena? Right? So I think I'm just in such fight mode. I haven't even given time to the emotional part. I was more like, you've got to be kidding me. And my thing is, God didn't get me here to 60 years old to almost retire to just crawl in a corner and die. No. So then the first thing when I realized I was scammed, I called all my local universities, and we have a lot here in Connecticut. I called Yale University, I called Quinnipiac University, and I called Bridgeport, that all have law schools, to see if, somebody would help me. And I find that a lot of crypto is not, we think, oh, it's been happening, but a lot of people aren't versed in it. So that's where I kind of stumbled on these things. And then I'm like, oh my God, all these bills are coming, and I paid an attorney, like scrambled up money for like bankruptcy. But if you make 79,000 or less, you can file for Chapter 7. If you make over 80,000, it's Chapter 13, and it's dollar for dollar, which is hundreds of thousands of dollars I owe. So I'm just like in fight mode. And that's why I said I got to fight. I got to tell people. I have to help other people, because I know right now as we're talking, people are getting scammed. That's how good they are. And I really thought I was one of the sharper tacks in the box.
Yeah, obviously you can tell you are very sharp just
Well,
from
and
listening.
I
I mean,
speak, yep, speaking to reporters and other people and the police, and they're like, it's happening to doctors,
mhm.
lawyers, finance people, everyone. Because it's not that I was greedy, but it's like, okay, oh, I can retire sooner. That the money they're showing you is making all this profit, and I'm thinking, okay, like now because this was 2023. You think about all the regulations that have changed, and now we got officials that have coins with them. And I tried to do some research. We did the reverse image. It didn't come up. You'll see in the story, this person that was supposedly, I was in a romance with, it's from Australia. There was pictures of his kids. He was a widow. His Facebook was hacked, but it was sending all these pictures.
Now, this lawmaker in Connecticut that's got this bill on the
Hmm.
wallet,
Yep.
did they propose that because of you, or how did you guys get
No, I
involved?
think there are more cases coming up. And in the article, I think it's like a 40% increase from 23 to now or 22, all these cases coming up. But I think, in parts of Connecticut have this small but wealthy areas. I think people were not reporting it. It's like, okay, you lost 50,000. But for some of us who work hard every day, that's a lot of money. So I think more and more people started to report it. And like I said, these two poor state troopers are going crazy trying to, work these cases. Because in the first story that was done by Channel 4 NBC, I was the teaser, but there was a gentleman who thought he was doing a finance thing. He put $70,000 cash in a bag and someone came and picked it up from his driveway. Like, I guess he
Wow.
had a Ring camera and they had it on camera. And then in a town over, it was happening again. And I think they caught that person, but it was someone from New York, an Asian guy.
They're doing that here. The police department where I live, Tulsa Police Department, they're
Yep.
getting Ring camera videos of
Yep.
just money mules who are showing up to houses to get cash and drop off cash.
Yes.
And see, that's what I was worried about with my mom when she got scammed. I
Yeah.
told her she could move into my house on one condition, and that was she
Hmm.
couldn't talk to her scammer because I didn't know anything about these scams at the time, and I was worried that they were going to show up at the
Was
house.
she in a romance?
Yeah, she
Oh,
lost
okay.
350,000.
Oh, yeah. And they, like I said, oh my God, praying and how was your day? And
Mm-hmm.
just like the most attentive partner you would ever have. Sending me food, they're sending trinkets, and you know,
Well, here's what
it's
I tell when a potential victim reaches out to me and says, "Do you think I'm involved in a romance scam?" I say, "What man in real life gives you that much attention?"
no.
None of them. Never.
Exactly.
All day, every day, texts, phone calls, gifts. No, no man does
Yeah,
that. I'm sorry.
I know. And I'm like, oh, was I a little off my game because of the party? But he like talked to the party planner and just
Wow.
like, I didn't even bring up, there's another part. I said, oh, if I get a movie, I went to like a psychic and it was like crazy, crazy.
Oh,
It is,
what'd the
it
psychic say?
Well, I went to her twice because first she's like, "Oh yeah, there's some young people and it's dark, but oh, you're not going to lose any money, and oh, you're going to win the lottery." And I've gone to her before. I had faith in her because I was taking on this new job, but I didn't tell her, and she drew a building with all these windows, and it ended up being the cancer hospital I work at. So yeah, different things. So this is 500 days, not like something that happened 2, 3 months and that was it.
So I have victims ask me all the time
Hmm.
how they can move on and how they recover. How would you tell someone who's just in the beginning stages to
Right.
begin?
I have a lot of support and I talked to a therapist, but I felt like she wanted to know more what happened. And the only thing that really has affected me and
Oh,
still does,
she wanted the gossip.
yes. So I ended that, but is my sleep because it's hard to stop your brain. Like certain things, like I just thought the other day in the shower, it was like, oh, this, I don't care. I'm not going to say a curse word. H contributed to oh, I'm so proud of you, and contributed to this event that I was in, and all these different things. Because, of course, I shared everything I was doing. And again, very involved in these other things. And oh my God, I'm so proud of you, this, that, and the other thing. And I have it all. A lot of it's on text. I don't know. I just have faith. And I know it's like, you feel like, oh my God, I thought this person was real and that they really cared for me, but they really have to put number one, this person had one job and one job only, and that was to separate you from your money, no matter how long it took. And it's not easy, but like I said, I have friends I talk to. Embarrassment wasn't, I was so mad. I was like, I'm a victim. And I keep telling myself over and over again, you're a victim. You're a victim. And these people have to realize you're a victim. You did nothing wrong. My friends and family, everybody's been so supportive
But what did they
that
say? Did they say any, like, I'm sure when you were talking, when you first
they're
started
like, "Oh, you
talking.
didn't see his face and this and that and the other thing." And I'm like, "No," and I would joke with him and say, "Oh, you're in the witness protection program." And I had my girlfriend, she stuck with me the whole time. This is who told me to go to the police. We tried to do the reverse image. I don't know that Channel 7 was able to get who the person was, but we were kind of joking about it and whatnot. And, days just go by and go by and go by. You have to get past the embarrassment, and people will judge you. I told myself I was not going to read any of the comments,
Oh, yes, don't.
you know, because people are so
They're
mean.
cruel.
Yes. So I just, like I said, with the support, and I had to go to the vice president of my hospital in the media because
Oh,
we signed a code of conduct, but she said it was totally personal, but thanks for the heads up. Everyone knows somebody who's gotten scammed, and they're like, oh, and all these stories come out. I had
finally.
one of my staff members say, oh yeah, my son got scammed, with crypto. And I would have never known if they didn't know about me. But my face is out there. And I just say, all right, God, you gave me this job. I'm going to take it. If I have to be the face of scammers, whatever it is, because it happened to me, this is my life.
Okay, so the article, it said that you've got to put your home on the market. You've claimed bankruptcy, right?
Well, I haven't claimed yet
Okay.
because again, it's dollar for dollar. So I'm working with Bank of America. But the thing is, and this is, I don't know, even a whole nother scam. So I refinanced because my house was like paid for. And they were able to, I didn't even know people, anybody, if they have your account information, can deposit checks into your accounts. So they were able to deposit large checks that were ending up, no good, and take the money out, and I'm stuck holding the bag. So it's
Oh,
so complicated. Yes.
wow. See, that happened with my ex-husband. We had a joint account and I kept trying to
Uh-huh.
close the account and he kept writing
Right.
checks and it would reopen the account. So that can happen with a scammer. I didn't
Yes.
know that.
If they have your account information, yes.
Oh,
So that's what I mean. I've been here for 32 years. And you know what? I'm trying to figure it out. If we come to the realization, I may not be here. That's the heartbreaker. But I, again, work at a cancer hospital. I look at the people in California and Asheville, North Carolina, and I say, Jack, you have your life, you have your health. So I have to look at the glass half full. I mean, my niece started a GoFundMe, but but I, I just, and one girl I talked to who she's a friend, but she was like, oh, her husband, she retired and got a large sum of money, and her husband was like, oh, well, we could put half in my account. And she said no. And I said to her, well, I've never put money before people. And she felt bad. And I was like, that's just me. And her husband ended up passing away from COVID. So it's like, it's just, I don't know if it's how you're raised, or, I know people that their bank account dipped $100 and they're like hyperventilating. And I'm
hmm.
like, how did that relationship with money? I've lost a great deal, but I just have so much faith that I'm not going to get that money back, but maybe it'll come back another way.
Now,
So,
have you thought about dating again?
oh, not yet.
Mm.
Because
Mhm.
on the broadcast, and I'll send you, or you again, you'll see it's a two-part. They're like, "Oh, her Prince Charming is out there,"
Oh,
but I know that no, I'm afraid
you are?
to.
What if someone approached you in real life? Like, what if you met
Oh,
a
in
man
real
in real
life,
life?
that would be different. That
Okay.
would definitely be different. Because I've always been, I know cancers, they say we're emotional, but I feel like I have a lot of love to give, and but definitely not, no, I'm traumatized.
Do you think if you did meet a man in real life who wanted to date you, how do you think your relationship with him would be affected? Do you think you would have trust issues even if it was face to face?
I don't know. I've always known, you know what? And this is funny because my girlfriend and I, when I say we all have baggage, right?
Hmm.
And it comes in different travel sizes. So
Yeah.
someone may have a wristlet, someone may have a backpack, and someone may have a suitcase. So you can determine, I think, what they have and what you want to deal with. So
Yeah.
I haven't given up totally on love. There's people like, oh, I'll never date again. No, I think God put me on this earth to give love.
So you were eventually were able to find. I've had a hard time finding decent therapists to interview for this podcast for the same reason that you were talking about earlier. But
Yeah,
you were able to eventually find one.
I haven't yet. And like I said, the emotional part, like I don't know. I'm just in fight mode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are
So
different stages, and the stage
yeah,
you're going through right now is anger, and that's going to help get you
yes,
through. Yeah.
yes, fight mode.
Hmm.
But so I can't really say
Yeah.
how I would be, but we're all human and we have emotions, and I thank God I have a great job. I'm going to continue to do that because that was the hardest part, going to work and a smile on my face
Oh,
and
wow.
managing all these people.
Hmm.
But I went in, I just told myself when I said, and actually I need to say that AARP has been so supportive, and that's kind of how we found you. It's just a network of reaching out. She called me a couple of months later, and I think after Christmas, things had slowed down on the holiday. But then in October, she's like, "Are you willing to tell your story?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah." And then I said, "Do I have to show my face?" And she's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Okay." So once I decided, like anything they asked, like even talking to you, is yes, yes, yes. There's no going back.
Mhm.
My face is out there, and I have to. There's just something inside of me, and I don't know if it's my mom, my dad, whomever, that says you have to help people. You have to tell the story.
So Jackie and I talked about ideas to fix the problem.
There should be some type of warning. We're not responsible if you go off the platform. I
Yeah,
didn't get that,
that would help.
right?
That'd be helpful. Yeah.
Yes. So, number one, big flash. Once you go off the platform, you could be subject to,
I like that
right?
idea.
Yes. Number one.
Hmm.
Number two, like you said, hopefully with this legislation, whenever, I said, yes, 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 I will testify. Hopefully, maybe this spring it's coming up. Police stations can get more educated on this because I think it's happening more and more. I feel like they kind of don't. I mean, I felt like they were dismissive with me back then, and you know, people that don't watch the news, like how
Hmm.
else, in
Yeah.
AARP, I think they want seniors to know because it's now, all right, I just turned 60. I'm like, that's good because AARP is behind me and been very supportive, but it's happening to all
Yeah.
ages.
Now, when you say that AARP was very supportive, what do you mean? What did they do for you to help?
So there are people that are like they work for in fraud of seniors. They're in touch with the state police who are working on these cases. Just how AARP has their magazine and they put these things out, so they've been really helpful.
I'll put a link to Jackie's GoFundMe page in the show notes. If you want to see what this scam city looks like, just Google Scam City, Myanmar, and the pictures will pop up. It's so bizarre that this is happening. I'm hoping our federal government gets word and steps in. So I started this podcast to learn about romance scams, and I'm still learning new things every single time I do another interview. It's wild. If you'd like to share your story, send me a message. It's scammerstoriespodcast@gmail.com. Until next time, Scammer Warriors.